Welcome to Homemaking with Mima. My name is Wendy, and this is going to be a 2-day process for me, one video for you. I'm going to be canning the beef stew meat to get it out of my freezers to make freezer space because I eventually want to clean that upright freezer, and in order for me to do that, I need to take some things that are in the upright and merge it into the chest freezers. And my whole plan for the stew meat was to can it anyway, so why not do it now? So I'm going to go through the process of it. I'll explain it to you. So I'm going to take the raw stew meat, get it put into this dish, and then as I bring you over here, I am making 2 pans and I'm bringing water to a boil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to boil the stew meat for a minute. And what that's going to do is it's going to draw out the blood that's in it so that when I go to can it, my jars won't look so ugly and full of that stuff that floats around. Because what that is that's the blood that's in the meat. I know it sounds kind of gross, but instead of having ugly jars, I'll have halfway ugly jars. It just makes the end product look better and you don't have all that stuff floating around. And I've watched this on YouTube, and I don't remember who I first seen it on. And I do it with the chicken, I do it with the pork, and I do it with the beef. So I'm going to bring you along for that. And after I get this all boiled up, I'm going to put it into a container, let it cool, and then I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. And then it'll be a few seconds for you, but it'll be the next day for me. So I'll be canning it the next day. And I'll bring you along for that as well. Okay, so I am done. And yeah, it doesn't look that bad right now. But when I go to empty this, I got to let it cool off. But look at the coating on that. And this one too. Not that bad. But then also look, I took it out. And that is not going to be in my canned end product. So letting them thaw out the best you can. Mine was still kind of frozen. And doing this process helps draw out this ugly look so that it's not in your end product. So now here's the finished items that I just boiled for not more than 1 minute and 50 seconds. And they're not done. They're going to cool off. And then I'm going to put them in this container and put them in the refrigerator. Now, more blood is going to drain into this when it's cooling off. And so that will be disposed of. And then after it sits overnight, the bottom here, of course, there's going to be more blood that's going to be drawn out and then go to the bottom. That's not going to be in your end product as well. Now you still get you get a haze of that stuff in your canned product. It's not going to be 100% clear, but this process that I've learned, and like I said, I do it with the pork, the chicken, and the beef. It just helps so that you have a clear product at the end. The sediment will rest to the bottom. And I'll bring you downstairs so that I can show you one of my older canned products so that you can see that you still have some in there, but it just looks so much better. Do you have to do this? Absolutely not. I have time to do it today. I try to make time to do it just so that my end product looks better. If you do not have the time or you don't want to waste the time doing this, you certainly can per the home canning guideline. You can do raw meat. It can't be in huge chunks. It has to be in cubes or pre-cooked ground for doing meat. Read up on it on your home canning guide, and I'll link that in the description box below. Or if you have a ball book or whatever canning book that you're following, follow that process. So now this is done, and I will can it tomorrow, but it won't be tomorrow for you. That's what I have left in the bottom of that bowl for the blood in that. That's going to get disposed of and the bowl's washed. This is going to cool off a little bit more before I can put it in the refrigerator, and then I will be canning this up. Okay, so I'm going to get ready to get the beef stew meat or the beef chunks into the canner. I've got that all prepped. I'm heating up my water for my lids. I washed up my jars in that. In fact, I washed up my lids too. I'll bring them over here. I'm filtering some water here to put in with them. I took these out about an hour and a half ago to try to come to room temperature, and they're going to be fine. I got the vinegar, lid lifter. We're going to fill these to 1-inch head space. So it's going to be that or to that line right there. And anytime you put a solid in a jar for canning, you have to debubble it. So I'm going to use the other side of this to debubble it. And I'm going to bring you all along for all of this. And if you want to see other canning projects, I do have a playlist that is all canning. Okay, I've got them all in there now. I got 7 on the bottom and 4 on the top. Okay, so I have my steady stream and I'm going to set my timer for 10 minutes for it to vent. Okay, I have my Complete Guide to Home Canning USDA book out here. And for cubed meat, it does have to process in pints for 75 minutes, and it's found on page 5-7. And I'm going to leave a link to this book in the description box below, or you can purchase it, I believe, through Amazon and possibly some bookstores. So now I have to wait for this to come up to pressure. In my area, it's 10 pounds, so up to the 240 mark, but mine usually runs between 11 and 12. Okay, so it has reached the 240. It will go up slightly on me, and I had already pressed the start button for the timer. And you're gonna hear the canner in the background, but for supper tonight, I took out a freezer meal that I had. I made the goulash with the venison. And so that's going to be supper tonight. Something quick and easy because there's a lot going on in the kitchen. So the timer has gone off. So I'm going to shut it off and let it cool completely before I even take that lid off. So it's cooled down enough. I'm going to open my camera lid, and with an All-American, you have the way you put it on across from each other like that with the screws. You have to take it off the same way. And I always have a difficult time because I don't have the strength in my hands, so I just get this knife sharpener out and I just give it a little nudge so that I can get it off. Always open it away from you, so if there's any residual steam, it doesn't burn you. And I let it sit with the lid cracked for 5 minutes before I take them out of there. Well, my water is pretty clear, so I didn't have any seepage, which will happen when you do any kind of canning. It doesn't happen all the time, but if it does happen, don't be shocked. If you have a lot of product in there, then you may have had a failed seal, but you will check the seals tomorrow when you get them all washed up. And here's the product right out of the canner. There's still some bubbles in there, you can see. And it would be a lot cloudier if I hadn't have pre-baked them. You can see the bubbles there. There is residue in there at the bottom, and once they settle down and I clean them up, then you'll be able to see them more tomorrow. But I'm gonna put a blanket on them, or not a blanket, I'm gonna put a towel over the top of them, tuck them in, and they're gonna sit overnight, and then I'm gonna wash them up tomorrow, but it'll just be a few seconds for you. Okay, so it's the next day, and I'm going to check the seals and wash these beef jars up. And what I was doing is I was checking to see if there was any movement in the center. And then you grab it by just the lid alone, and you don't have to get carried away with this. And then just lift it up by the lid and it's sealed. So now I'm going to wash these up. But I do want to show you that this one looks like it did have a little bit of seepage, but it didn't really leak into my water. So this one I got to scrub at a little bit more. Okay, so I'm going to label them now and get them into this folder. So I'm just going to put what it is, the month, and the year. They do look a little hazy because I shook them around when I scrubbed them up because I gave them a good scrubbing. But that's all going to settle and you're still going to have a beautiful product. And I'll show you one of those when I take you downstairs and put these away. Okay, so here's the comparison. The one on the extreme left is the one that I just washed up and I did yesterday. And the other two, which one is a pint and one is a quart, are ones that I did a year ago. So see, it does settle down. And you see how nice and clear that is doing that process of pre-boiling for a minute, 2 minutes, pulling some of that blood out of there so that you have a better looking product. Now, I know people are going to probably state, well, that's the flavor. Yes, it is. It is part of the flavor of the beef. But when you have something sitting on your shelf, you want it to look nicer, especially when you got family who, if they see you bring it up, they're like, oh, what is that floating around in there? Okay, it's ugly. So anyway, that is the comparison. That's what this one is going to look like after the sediment there settles down, because I remember I told you I gave them a good scrubbing so it got shook around. So I want to thank you folks for joining me today. If you like this kind of content, please give it a thumbs up, share with family and friends, and subscribe to the channel. And I want you folks to make it a really great day.